What's going on, guys? My name is Jake. I'm a mortgage broker. I work over at Edge Home Finance.
Hey, everybody. I'm John Richter. I'm also a mortgage broker over at Edge Home Finance.
Welcome back to whatever this is.
We're thinking about it. We're coming up with something.
Jake and John's
Funland.
Funland. Ugh, it's
Yeah.
so bad. That might be it, though.
We might have to have a little vote or a contest.
Yeah.
Figure out what we want to do.
Joe Rogan's podcast experience featuring John and Jake.
Yeah, there we go.
Kind of
Just pump something up.
Yeah.
Whoever's the hottest thing on TikTok
Piggyback off of
with John and Jake.
Joe Rogan's success.
Yeah.
Pfizer's own John and Jake.
Yeah.
Let's make it divisive.
The Beast with John and Jake.
Yeah.
People would watch that.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, so I don't know. I mean, we did a podcast already that you guys will never see. There was John's dog was barking in the background.
We thought we had this thing all teed up.
I couldn't.
Great content, everything, and next thing you know, there's my dog.
Yeah, I couldn't hear him or her. Her in the headphones. So I figured, oh, these are dynamic microphones. It'll be fine. Yeah, I was wrong. This thing picks up way more than I thought.
Which is great, especially when, there's 7 Amazon drivers that come by that day, and she's mad that she can't be downstairs with us and figure out what's going on.
Right.
It's like, awesome. Thanks a lot, Harper.
So we did kind of like John's origin story. I mean, we could go over it again. That's fine. Or if you have any like burning topics you want to talk about, not even in the mortgage industry, but just anything that's been on your mind lately.
Yeah, the mortgage industry isn't real sexy.
No,
it's
fucking boring.
It's really,
unless
if you want to take a nap, take out your mortgage stuff. Read it. Yeah, put on a podcast about mortgages.
Yeah.
And let me tell you what's happening with interest rates and the PCEs coming out. And the next thing you know, right before you're going to lock your interest rate, oh, you know what? Interest rates have changed.
Yeah. Exactly. That's why I have to wake up at like 6 a.m. on a Wednesday to do my market update just to get it done because everything changes so quickly.
Yeah, and if you haven't subscribed to Jake's market update, you have to. It is good. I mean, his sponsors that he's getting are unbelievable.
Shout out Red Bull, Tesla.
Yeah.
Pfizer.
Yep.
Joe Biden.
Yeah.
It's cool.
You had a drug company one week, too. I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
El Chapo.
Yeah, it was the amount of traction that he's getting, so popular in the prison system and everything. It's amazing.
I do what I can. Those are my people. So
gotta hang with the people.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing about mortgages and that whole industry, it's interesting. Actually, I wouldn't even say it's interesting to me. It benefits me to keep in touch and to know what's going on for the most part. But man, when I get home, I'm not like, oh, I want to know. I need to run a scenario. It's just so fun.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many times you can do that. I think one of the best things that I love about the mortgage industry, and we kind of talked about this a little bit last week, is just how different it always is, and how you if you want to be really good at mortgage, you kind of have to be like a chameleon.
Yeah,
you have to be able to change just on a dime. Where we talked about, if you're talking to a teacher or an economist or an engineer, you have to act a certain way and you have to give them the numbers a certain way. Right. If you have somebody else or it's a younger person that doesn't want to talk on the phone, you got to be able to present it via Zoom. You got to be able to do different things. And you have to be able to do this in a matter of seconds, really. And, with the number of people that we talk to, whether it be real estate agents or title companies or underwriters,
insurance,
everybody's always different. And you kind of got to be able to feel them out really quickly and be like, all right, this is how I have to, make this work. It's really, not to sound too salesy, but you really have to be on your game.
Yes.
When you're either if you're talking to someone or if you're, at a closing or anything, because everybody kind of looks to you and they're like, well, now what? Or it's really the awkward silence. Like I hate going to closings and there's just awkward silence and everybody's just signing documents and I'm like, all right, what's a good joke I can tell here?
How can I fill the air?
Yeah, you gotta have that fill of okay, what should I do next?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's true in a lot of industries. My dad was a used car salesman, and I feel like lenders and brokers and realtors are like just a step up from a used car salesman in a way.
Yeah, there was just a survey. I don't know if you saw this, but there was just a survey that came out that said, the most trustful person like field that you can go into, and like right now it's like nursing. Nursing
Yeah.
was like number one.
Yeah.
But I will say, for like one of the first times ever, financial people actually ranked higher than real estate agents. So, I was like,
Yeah,
wow,
fuck
okay.
you, realtors.
Yeah, hey, we took a step up. We went from number 30
Let's
to number
go.
29,
Yeah.
But it's hard because trust is a huge factor in our business, and you have to be able to trust people that you're working with. And again, it comes back to what we were talking about. It's the communication side of it. You got to know how to communicate to these people because, again, it's your biggest debt you're ever going to take out. You want to make sure that you understand it because, man, the last thing we want is to go through and just have people fall behind or do anything like that. So communication is so key.
For sure. And I feel like you mentioned nurses being, trustworthy. When I was younger, it was like nurses and doctors. It's like, whoa, they're like angels. But then I started working at a nursing home and I realized nurses are like just as big of a degenerate as me. Like they like to party. They like to, they're normal humans and, but on the job, obviously keep it very professional, but, they're not angels. I mean,
no.
they are. I don't want to sound like they're, but I forget that like people have normal lives outside of their profession.
There's always that time to work and time to play.
Right. Exactly.
And sometimes people take it to the extreme
Yeah.
when it happens. I was just watching, I was following someone that they were saying they used to be a corrections officer for like 10 years, and then they went into real estate. And they were saying, how hard they worked and how hard it was, and they never really got to talk to anybody other than chase criminals around, which, that sounds like a lot of fun. But, now they were saying how easy it is to kind of get out and be able to talk, but they were saying how the hours that they worked, it was crazy. It was like they would work, I think he said he was working like 10 days straight, and then he'd have 4 days off.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, 10 days straight? And then 4 days off, I'm like, man, I am so glad I don't have to punch a clock.
Yeah, I'd spend those first 2 days just in bed recouping from that 10 days straight of just pure hell.
I think I would have to spend the first 2 days just probably inebriated.
Talking to a therapist.
Yeah, exactly. And then hopefully my hangover is over by the third day so that I can actually get something done on the fourth day. Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we touched on some stuff last time about, where you grew up. What your childhood was like. Remind me again what your parents did.
So my mom was a homemaker. She stayed at home. There was 5 of us. I was the youngest of 5. I was the baby. So by the time things came around to me growing up and everything, it was just me, my mom, my dad, and then my brothers and sisters would sprinkle in every once in a while coming back from college or whatever.
Right.
And then my dad was in construction. He was a drywaller.
Oh,
He was
okay.
he was a drywall. He was a union carpenter.
Yeah.
So, it was a kind of a dynamic, fun. There was always something going on at the Richter household.
Yeah. So you've been a mortgage broker or loan officer for years. What do your siblings do? So you're the youngest.
I'm the youngest. Yep.
You have 4.
I have 3 sisters and a brother. My oldest sister, she works in the schools. She is a cafeteria lady in Minnetonka.
Okay.
My brother's in the grocery industry. He's been there since he was 16 years old. My other sister actually just retired, but then went back as a contract employee with UPS. She was a UPS person for a long time in their logistics.
I heard that's a good deal, UPS.
Yeah, I mean,
Or was. I don't know if it still is.
It still is. I mean, it was kind of crazy. She retired, and like 6 months later, like, can you come back on a contract? And she's like, wait. So then I get paid more money and don't have to deal with all that. And she's like, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And then my other sister's in insurance.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, everybody's a little bit rounded of what, it kind of took some of us a little bit longer to get where they wanted to be. But, it's a good dynamic. 4 of us still live here in the state here. My other sister lives down in Georgia.
Okay.
So,
who are you closest with?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably my youngest, or my sister closest to me in age.
Yeah.
So she's 6 years older than me. But yeah, we talk a lot, and her nieces and nephews, I basically, I don't know, was always around. I was their babysitter.
Yeah.
Being the youngest, you turn into a professional babysitter
Totally.
very quickly.
Yeah.
It was like my oldest sister. So when my oldest sister got married, I was in junior high. We still had junior highs back in the middle schools. And then once I got my driver's license, it was like, hey, can you babysit tonight? Sure.
Shit.
Yeah, So there's numerous nights of that. And in college, I'd take the kids up to college and we'd go jump around in the field house and everything, and they'd get just all tired out. And, it was a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said you were a bartender?
I was a bartender and bouncer, yep, at Magrudy's Pub. in St.
Magrudy's?
Cloud, yeah.
Okay.
It's a little Irish / fun bar up in St. Cloud, Minnesota.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. What was your day like as a bartender?
Oh,
My buddy's a
let's see,
bartender.
Let's see. I would wake up. Well, when I was in college doing it, I mostly worked at the door just because that's what I did. I was like, okay, and you'd have a whole day of sleep because you were. I was more nocturnal. I think back then.
For sure, I was too.
It was like the bar would close at that's back when bars would close at like 1, and I still wouldn't get home till 4, and then.
Would you guys stay after hours? And
Oh yeah, we'd stay after hours, or we'd go to someone else's house or apartment, and next thing you know, it's 6 a.m. and you're like, oh man. But then when I started working, I was a mortgage broker and still working at the bar, and I was like, yeah, I got to cut back my hours here because I have to be to the work. I have to be to the office at 8 a.m. And I'm like, there were days where it's like, oh man, I got to get a nap in here at work. I think.
Isn't that crazy? I remember, back in the day, I would party, knowing that I had to get up at like 6 a.m. to go to work, but I'd be fine. And now it's like I have 2 drinks and I'm like I feel it all day the next day.
Oh, it's any little thing. I mean, I just turned 50, and I was thinking about this. I'm like, it almost takes me longer to get ready now in the mornings, or even like getting in the shower and shaving and everything. I'm like, why does it take me just as long as like old people? And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm like, man, I'm spending more time in the bathroom than like my teenage kids because it takes me that much longer to get ready. And it's like, I'm not pretty. I mean, I have a face for radio.
Come on.
And it doesn't take much to put this together, So, but the shaver definitely gets a workout because as you get older, folks, hair grows.
Yeah. So a life hack I learned is that our body, the older we get, gets depleted of this, I think it's an amino acid called glutathione. And if you take it before you go to bed after a night of drinking, it kind of like helps you get over that hangover.
Really?
Yeah.
Glutathione.
Thought I'd throw that out there.
We're going to be sponsored by glutathione very quickly. Either that or Liquid IV, whatever you got.
Yeah.
We're open.
Yeah. Yeah, let us know. So you have 3 kids?
Three kids.
3 kids. When you had your first kid, I don't know how to ask it. I don't know if this is inappropriate. Like, were you guys planning on having a kid? You were trying for a kid? Or did it kind of just happen? You're like, sweet.
I think it just kind of happened. We had gotten married. We got married in 98. He was born 2001.
Oh, okay.
So, we waited a little bit, had some fun, but we were just kind of getting our lives together too. So, we had a little bit of, we were trying, and then it just happened. And then the next one was not so much planning.
Kind of happened.
Then she just kind of came.
Yeah.
And then, the third one was, I can't say that was planned either.
Okay, got it.
Still love you, Sam.
Do you? God damn it! What was that? I don't know if you remember. I remember when Jean and I found out she was pregnant because we were like, we weren't not trying to have kids.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain. But it's like if it happens, it happens. But then it happened, and it was like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And then so we kind of did things in like a different order. So like, I was living at my buddy's house. $500 a month. That's it. No utilities. I was like, this is amazing. I have enough money to buy whatever. I can have fun, and I had a bunch of extra money. And then we found out Jean was pregnant, and it was like, okay, so now we got to find a house. And then I ended up eventually we found this house, and then she had Felix, and then I proposed. So like we did it in like a weird order, but yeah, I remember that feeling of like 80%. Oh my god, I'm freaking out. What the
Yeah.
hell? She was freaking out, and then I thought about it, and we sat down together and talked about it, and that's when we were like getting excited.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh my god, what does she think? I'm freaking out because I don't know what she thinks, and she's probably freaking out just because like as a woman, I'm sure like if men had to have babies, like physically have the babies, dude, I don't know if I'd ever have a kid. That's terrifying.
That'd be a negative. No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, physically, I don't know how it'd be possible, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
if men had to go through that, I feel like this would be a completely different world.
Yeah, especially after going through it and seeing it and
Ugh.
watching the transformation and everything and being
Yeah.
in the delivery room. I'm like, yeah, there's no way.
Yeah.
Men aren't doing this. No,
Yeah,
not
Felix.
a chance.
Felix had the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck, so like they induced her, and then you have to wait like 24 hours for it to
Yeah.
like do its thing. And so they did that, and then we were kind of just waiting in our room, and they had this like heart sensor thing on her stomach so they can hear the
Yeah.
baby's heart.
Yep.
And it kept going like bip, 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 bip,
Oh,
bip. And it was so loud in the room, and it just haunted me.
Oh.
And all the nurses would rush in and flip her around, and like,
jeez.
so they did that like 5 times, and finally, I was like freaking out.
Yeah.
Like I was so scared that Jean was gonna get hurt or something, and Felix was gonna get hurt, and finally they're just like, yeah, it might be a better idea to have a C-section. I'm like, let's do it. Like, obviously it's up to Jean, but they're like, we can wait to see what happens. Or, but they're like, I don't want it to be an emergency thing where we're rushing in here, shoving a tube down your throat
Right,
and
yeah.
having to rush you to the emergency room. It's like, it'd be better. They gave us a choice, but they're like, kind of told us it'd be better if we just planned this instead of having to have like an emergency surgery. So Jean, the whole time when she got pregnant, she's telling from the beginning, I don't want a C-section. I don't want a C-section. But she ended up getting a C-section, and it went really well. And yeah, the umbilical cord is wrapped around his neck. And I thought like for sure when he was born, I was going to be like, oh yeah, nice. I thought maybe it'd be like a gradual thing where the love would build up.
Yeah.
And I would end up loving the kid. But immediately when they pulled him out and he was crying and he was like perfect, and dude, like,
Oh yeah. The
Tears, like-
emotions that come over you.
yeah, I cried so hard. And Jean was kind of sitting there like inebriated, just kind of like, okay, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like she was happy obviously, but she was kind of, under anesthesia and
Oh
a
yeah.
little bit
Well,
groggy.
and just everything that their bodies go through. But it kind of like we talked about in the beginning is, with nurses and everything. It's amazing how calm they stay
Yes.
in those situations. Because I was similar, not so much similar, but like when our oldest, when he was first born, his bilirubin levels are really high. So
His what?
Bilirubin.
What's
so
that?
It was like if they turn yellow.
Oh yeah, Felix had
So
jaundice,
he was
too.
under the lights right away. So it
Yep,
was funny because
same.
when he was born, he was like there was like 12 kids in the like nursery, and he was like the only boy, and so he always had to be under the lights, and they had like like if you go like to a tanning thing and they put those little glasses on you, so he had a glass on, he'd be laying like this, and I'm like, you were just hanging out for the
Nice and
ladies, aren't
warm.
you? Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's just crazy the way that nurses and doctors, more nurses, just keep everybody so calm in situations like that.
They were
because
great.
It's just, I wish there was a class that, I'm sure there is probably a class, but those are the things you never,
Yeah, calm in stressful
it's like,
situations.
man, how do you go through this? And, there's no real, know it all, end all, be all. This is how you parent book.
Right.
And going into that for your first time, it's like, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And they do such an amazing job.
Well, yeah, that's one thing. Like when Gina and I were there, the nurses were like amazing, like the best humans possible. They're perfect for that job.
And the other thing they do a really good job at is, because I kind of like to break the ice and be funny and everything. I went in there and I thought, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna crack a little. No, dad jokes or men jokes, they don't work real well. They don't.
Yeah.
The sense of humor that they have towards
Oh.
the male down there,
Yeah,
It didn't go too well.
Yeah,
So
that
it's like,
was-
all right, I'm just gonna bite my lip and
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit back on this really nasty looking '70s couch.
Yeah.
And I'll be right here. Because it was like, yeah, you're not funny. This is all about your wife.
That's so funny because like my biggest thing when I'm in like high stress situations like that, my coping mechanism is to try and like bring some humor to it.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of like, yeah, okay. Anyways,
Yep.
and I'm like, okay, this isn't.
Yeah, no, it was very much
These jokes
it
aren't
was
hitting.
I
Yeah.
was like, oof,
It was a
this
tough
is
crowd.
Tough crowd.
Yeah.
Tough crowd. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so funny because, I was talking about how nurses are just normal people, but like nurses from the nursing home compared to nurses at the hospital,
Yeah.
completely different.
Yeah.
When I worked at the nursing home, it's like it breaks you down.
Oh, I bet.
It breaks you down. Like everybody, not just the nurse, like all the staff, it's just kind of like desensitized. Like when I first got there, it was like, it was crazy.
Was it like an elderly nursing home? Or
Yeah,
was it
yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's hard because you're dealing with you know what's going to happen. What you're getting to is you're getting to the
right. They're at
you're
the
getting
final.
to the end.
They're at the final boss.
Yeah.
They beat the game. They're at
Yep.
the. But it's not even that. It's like my office was on the second floor, which was like Alzheimer's, dementia, more people who needed help.
Yeah.
And so I remember like my first week, and this is true for everybody's first week there that hasn't experienced a nursing home. There's like yelling, sometimes there's feces and drooling and people that are just sitting there. Like it's sad and it's scary and overwhelming. And, but it's weird, after a year of being there, you're just completely, used to it. You're used to that like crazy stuff you'd see. And it wasn't always, but like there were some times where like it was like, this is insane. Like when I'd have to train, I would say as assistant activity director, when I'd have to train new people in activities, for them, I'd forget that like this is kind of a crazy place and
Yeah.
you're gonna see some crazy things. And a lot of people the first 2 days are like, yeah, no, I'm done. I'm out of here.
I mean, it's a
intense.
lot. I give people a lot of credit. I mean, growing up, we'd always have. I had a great uncle who had special needs, so he lived in a nursing home, and this was back, in the 70s and 80s when nursing homes weren't what they are now,
Right.
And I mean, the stuff that you would see, we'd go to pick him up for holidays, and it was just like people just sitting in wheelchairs, just covered in, urine and feces, and we're just
Right.
like,
And the smell.
yeah.
It's
Oh,
like-
yeah. That's a smell you don't get out of your head.
Right.
That one gets stuck in there, and I'm thinking about it right now, and I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
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 I don't know. I give those people lots of credit though, because if we didn't have them,
Yeah, it's so crazy too, and like the culture in like North America. I'm sure Canada is similar. It's nursing homes are kind of like a normal thing, whereas Jean, she's Hmong, my fiance. For them, it's like, why would you ever put your mom or dad in a home?
right.
So many times I've seen people just drop their mom or dad off, and they never come back. That's just kind of like how it is.
yeah, our culture, when it comes to that, is very different.
You'd think it'd be opposite. Like you'd
Yeah.
think, if someone got that far and they raised kids and their kids have kids, you'd think they'd have like the utmost respect and like, that would be like their thing is
dude,
to
you just explained being a loan officer right there.
what?
You want the utmost respect, and you start out and you get people into a loan and everything, and then they just forget you. They just drop.
Oh
you
yeah,
off,
yeah. To us, we're just a transaction.
Yeah, I just compared, being a loan officer to a nursing home.
Yeah. We're heroes. It's no big deal. Yeah, I was just talking to my friend. Hold on, I'm gonna restart the camera real quick. Yeah, I was just talking to my friend Ashley about that. Is like, she's such a genuine person, in that like, she just became a realtor. She's such a genuine person that she actually wants to help people.
Yeah.
And is super selfless and cares about people and puts others first. That, it's going to be, I feel like, tough for her going into this, getting rejected, having people have these preconceived notions about realtors and even loan officers, where it's like, oh, they're just a salesperson. They're just wanting something from me, which is true. I mean, we want your business. but to be a genuine person that wants to help people, it's going to be hard breaking through that. But I feel like a lot of times people can tell if you're being genuine.
Totally. I would agree with that. I was on a call yesterday, a coaching call with a guy named, he's out of Texas. His name's Kyle Draper. Super great guy. Have you ever?
Is he a loan officer?
Coach Kyle. No, he used to be a youth minister. Now he's into coaching, and he does a lot of YouTube stuff. He does a lot
Like
of
life
video.
coach type?
Kind of, yeah, but more towards, real estate, mortgage,
Got it.
just everything like that. And he has some different things that we were talking about yesterday. And one of them that really struck and caught me was he's like, you be you. You got to be you. I mean, doesn't matter what people say, what people do, are they breaking you down and stuff. You got to be you. Because once you go away from not being yourself, man, that's never good.
Yeah.
And that just really hit home. I was like, yeah, you be you. And that's what I said that to him. Like, maybe we should call it you be you.
It's not a bad. When you sent the letters, I was like, what does that stand for?
Ubu.
Ubu.
What's Ubu?
Yeah. But really, though, I mean, like my dad, rest in peace, but he was a used car salesman. And at his funeral, past customers have showed up to his funeral. Like, he made such an impact, and people would come back to him. Their kids would buy cars from him, and he was such like a, I don't know, he was different. He wasn't like that scummy. I don't want to generalize and stereotype car salesman, but you know what I mean. It's
I get it. Yeah,
you can tell.
You get that rap of it. But yeah,
Yeah.
when you can make a difference like that, I know I've had the privilege of attending a couple, rest in peace, a couple of their funerals of old clients, and one of them actually reached out to me, and he's like, it'd be really nice, if you could come. And I'm like, man, we did one transaction together.
Like, dude, you're not dead yet.
But it meant so much to him and what I was able to help them with, and I was just myself. And I showed up, and he like introduced me to like their whole entire family, and I'm like, I was like a rock star at this funeral, and I was like
Passing out business cards.
and you're like,
I'm just kidding.
right? But you don't sometimes you don't realize how much you mean to people.
Totally.
And it's that's one of my. I don't mean to do it, but sometimes I get in that uncomfortable phase personally with what I've been through and everything. That sometimes funerals kind of freak you out.
Totally.
And
yeah.
They're
uncomfortable.
I've missed funerals just because I'm like, oh man, I just don't want to do this, or I just but just showing up and being able to celebrate, it makes the families or the people feel so much better, and you feel better too. I mean, because it's your last time to kind of make that person special,
right?
But yeah, I didn't realize, thinking about that, and you're going through and you're going, man, that means a lot. So
well, I will say, like, coming into this industry, being newer, you're probably one of the most genuine people I've met that is willing to just drop everything and help people. Because going into it, it's like, I'm the new guy. Who wants to hang out or talk to the new guy? And you treated me. A lot of people did, but like, you treated me like my status as a loan officer didn't matter. You treated me like a human, which I really appreciated. And like, your willingness to help me, even with the stupidest mundane stuff that I'm struggling with, has been like such a blessing, and I seriously appreciate it.
Well, I think that's one of the things, and I wish people would realize that is it's not always about the accolades or the almighty dollar when you're in sales and stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong. I loved being number one and doing all that stuff in my life and everything, but when I hit that point where I realized that what I did, if I can help someone do what I do and help them be better, it makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing about like teaching and coaching and educating, which I've just become such a big proponent of, just even in our industry and in life, is you see what happens, and then you see these, like yourself or other new loan officers or, students or whomever, and they just rise to it. And it's like, that's making a difference.
Yeah.
Because it makes me feel better. And again, it's not about the almighty dollar. If someone can succeed and learn and not fail, hey, it's good.
Well, true. And like, this isn't true for everybody, but I feel like it comes full circle. Like, me starting out, whether it be at the nursing home or doing YouTube or being a loan officer, I don't forget the people that helped me when I was maybe down and out, or I needed help, or just people that were genuinely nice to me. I
Yeah.
never forget that. So it's like,
It's kind of amazing how our brain works like that. You know, we could get wronged numerous times, and you know what, you get over it. But it's when someone's nice to you and helps you and offers you and things like that. Those are the things you always remember, and so you always got to remember good times,
Right.
And things that are going to help you grow as a person. They make so much more of a difference than holding in that anger.
yeah, going out and doing something for someone else, it doesn't cost anything.
No.
I mean, it can. I mean, whatever. But you can go out and do something that, especially these days, it's so rare. I feel like everybody's wrapped up in their own thing and wanting to get ahead in the rat race. But you just feel better when you do something nice for someone that maybe you didn't want to do. Like, say someone asked me, "Hey, can you give me a ride here?" Or, "Hey, can you help me out with this?" Maybe deep down I'm like, I don't want to. But after I do it, I'm always like, man, I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah, and it's just
Build that connection,
You got to build that connection, and sometimes I think it's kind of almost it is a lost art, I will say, just in general in society is listening.
Yeah.
If people would sit there and just listen a little bit, you can get a full story. Plus, it helps you, and you can learn from it, and you can help them. There's an acronym out there. It's called LOVE. It's listen, observe, validate, and express. If you do those things and you're able to just sit back and not just bite your tongue, and I'm not very good at it sometimes. I'll just kind of blurt things out. That's just who I am. If I bite my tongue and listen, it clears things up so much because people just want to get stuff off their chest sometimes.
Totally. Yeah, a lot of times people are just waiting for their turn to talk.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I've been guilty of doing that for sure. I think everybody is, but yeah, it's that need to express something that I don't know. You just feel better getting stuff off your chest.
Expressing your opinion is it always, it's always a big thing, and I always just it became kind of my habit just because I would forget what I was going to say.
Right.
I'm like, man, if I don't get it out now, it ain't coming out. I'll be like, what were we talking about again?
Yeah. I know last time when we were doing the podcast, you would say something, and I'd be like, oh, when he gets done, I'm going to, mention that. And then by the time you're done, I'm like, fuck, what was I going to say?
I know. I was actually thinking about this time. I'm like, man, I should have a piece of paper right here and just write things
right.
down.
That's
then
not
I'm
a bad
like,
idea.
Then all of a sudden you'd be asking me a question, be like, oh, I'm drawing.
Hold on, I'm just finishing.
Hold on, I'm
writing a novel.
I got to put another curl on this flower that I'm making.
Yeah.
It's funny, speaking of, I was going to talk about this too, is I did this for the first time yesterday, and it's been on the news and it's been everything, is the AI stuff that's out.
Chat
GPT, which you can't get on, it's already full. But there's different sites and stuff out there. I was on with a colleague friend of mine, and we were kind of talking. He's like, "Oh yeah, here, try this site out," and it's very similar. It's an AI company it's Open AI, and then they have this other thing called that they use. It's not quite Chat GPT just because you can't get into it, but they have another kind of AI that's not as smart as Chat GPT. And I used it yesterday for the first time, and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, because I wrote, I'm in the process of doing a commercial for YouTube for just educational purposes.
What's
for
your
real estate
YouTube channel
agents.
called?
What was it, John Richter?
John Richter?
Yeah. Okay. But I'm gonna be running these ads on Facebook, and so I was gonna record this, and I'm like, you know what? Rather than me thinking of something I'm gonna say, I'm gonna put it in this, search engine thing.
Yeah.
I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's crazy, and I mean, it came out and said exactly. I mean, I literally all I typed was how to talk to real estate agents about social media.
Yeah.
And I was like, I
copy paste.
Yeah, I copy and paste that thing right into my notes, and I'm like, all right, cool. I just got my whole Facebook thing right there. I mean, it was amazing how, you can have full-on conversation playground. That's what it's called.
Okay.
On OpenAI. See, there we go.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how, anybody can use it, and I mean, the studies have shown. I mean, they ran a thing on it that was it a law class here at the University of Minnesota.
Okay.
They ran it through Chat GPT and the paper and everything. They ended up getting a C+ on it.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Man, yeah, C+.
That's pass. You're passing.
Yeah.
It's better than grades I got in high school.
Well, and so I mean, it's it's one of those things. If you struggle and you can't think of something, or you're like, oh, how should I do that?
Work
I mean,
smarter, not harder.
Yeah, if that thing's right there and you can use it, I'm like,
Yeah.
heck yeah. I'm like, I'm all for it.
See, I feel like your social media could be so much better. Your Facebook. And I don't say this as like you're doing bad, because obviously, you're doing well for yourself. But I feel like, you have so much to offer business wise, which is great. Everybody knows that you're doing well. But I feel like in your personal life, I feel like you could be posting, half personal stuff, half, pictures of you and your family.
Yeah.
Those are that's what gets traction. They want to see your personality.
Yeah, and it's so true. It's just if you could do that, and you have to show the personal side of it, and that's the part that you struggle with.
Yeah.
Is just because sometimes you're like, I'm like, oh man, do I really want to open up about that?
It's hard to be vulnerable.
Yeah, and I mean, I did a video one time, and it was about, it was super late at night, and I was like, oh man, I'm just struggling just with the demons and everything. And
Right.
I did a video on it about how men don't talk about depression.
Right.
And, I kind of put it out there, and I was, it was a longer video than I usually do, but it was just me and the camera.
Yeah.
And I just talked about it, and, at the end of it, it made me feel really good. And right away I got like, after I posted it late at night, got up, and I got a couple of comments from old people that I had known, and they're like, yeah, I struggle with this too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, see? I'm
Dude.
like, if it helps one person, hey.
My whole YouTube channel practically was talking about drug addiction, depression, woe is me. But like, it's weird because the more I talked about this, but like the more I would do YouTube and I would talk about my feelings and whatever trauma and whatever stuff I was going through, depression. It's weird because then when I would go to make a YouTube video, I'd be like, okay, what's wrong with me? What's going on? What am I sad about?
Yeah.
It became like a habit to focus on those things. It's weird. It's like a double-edged sword. You want to, if you're completely, in a shell of just like depression and you don't want to open up, it's amazing to open up and to let that out and share it with the world. It could help so many people.
Yeah.
Get the courage to open up about stuff that maybe they thought they didn't have the courage to talk about. And then also, I feel like there's the opposite spectrum where I see a lot of times people, what's it called? It's like trauma. It's basically where they open up too much and they're constantly barraging people with my problems, me. Oh, I'm so...
The woe is me.
Yeah. So there's like a healthy balance. But yeah, the people that are kind of just wound up and don't express how they're feeling, they're going through stuff and don't reach out. It's like you'd be surprised how many people come to your aid.
Totally. And it's one of those things, especially as men, I think we really struggle with because we don't know who to talk to.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've sat down and I've talked to therapists. I've talked to, psychiatrists, everybody from, when I was through a car accident or just within the last few years, I was talking with a therapist just about, spending and how it was kind of out of control. And, no one wants to hear about that because they see the facade on the outside, but they don't ever know what's inside. Kind of like we were talking about coming back in a car ride that, like with depression or PTSD, I always said once I started struggling with that is if you don't have a cast on or you're not on crutches or in a wheelchair or something with a bandage, people don't know that you're hurting.
Yes.
And it's it's so big, and I think you're seeing it more and more and more, but you got to have that outlet, and that's, again, where that listening comes in, finding that right person to talk to. And I've been trying to do that more. I actually had a member of my BNI group reach out to me one time and was like, hey, do you just want to talk? And I'm like, yes, I do. I just
love that.
I don't want to talk about business. I don't want to talk. I just want to talk. Let's just have a talk, And you feel so much, it's just like the weight comes off your chest when you're doing that. And you're like, oh, okay, this is, at least for 5 minutes, it feels good, but everybody's afraid. I don't know why is everybody, I'd love to know if someone can tell me why are people afraid? Why are people afraid to ask for help? When it comes to it, is it because you got to be some big, strong, burly person?
Mm-hmm.
Is it because you want to be stronger mentally than everybody? Just why are we afraid to ask for help?
I think it's like you built up this character of how you want people to portray you, and when you get vulnerable, it makes you look weak.
Yeah.
I guess, or that's what you're thinking. Like if I tell them like, "Hey, I'm struggling," people might not take me seriously. They might use that against me. They might look at me differently, which I have never found that to be true. If someone like that I know is like really stoic and strong, that's like how I see them, and they came to me and they're like, "Hey, I'm really struggling." It would humanize them for me. It would be like, okay, this happens to everybody. This is like a normal thing.
Yeah, I had one time when I was coaching high school basketball as a JV basketball coach, and we had this was a long time ago, but we had a girl who was struggling with just depression and a teenage girl, just things going on and everything, and everybody, the coaching staff was really having troubles relating to her, and I was, she was missing classes and she was doing this and not doing the right thing and not getting her grades in and everything, and and this was I was very close knit and everything, and I was like, I reached out to the coach. I said, listen, let me talk to her. I said, let me talk to all of you with her in the room. And I said, because you know what? I said, I do these same things. I said, I struggle with depression. I said, you guys don't know this, but I struggle with depression. And I just labeled them all off. And, I always tell people when we talk about it, I said, there's a little white pill I take every day that, trying to helps me get through the day.
Shout out Big Pharma.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Don't hesitate to reach out as a sponsorship.
Hashtag Lexapro.
Hashtag Lexapro.
Hey, I'm out there.
Yeah.
But, being able to, and after I got done telling the story and everything, the player, she opened up.
Yeah.
And it made her feel, she's like, you know what, I'm not the only one. Because you're not the only one that's struggling with these things. And for her to be able to do that, and I got a better relationship with her and everything. But after doing it, and there were tears and everything from me, from her, from the other coaches and stuff going through and talking about this. And afterwards, the other coaches, I looked over and they're all just kind of like, they were like, I would have never known.
Right.
I would have never known this, because it's such, you put on such a facade.
Yeah.
And again, teenage girls, teenage boys, high school kids, whatever, it's real, man. And you just gotta let them talk and get through their stuff, because they're ones, especially with social media out there and everything, they just don't have that sounding board where they can just sit down and talk to anybody, because jumping on TikTok or Insta and doing all that stuff.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help.
I remember when I was younger.
Shout out Insta and TikTok. We did need you.
Yeah. I remember when I was younger, it was like, I was like, poor me, everything sucks. I had terrible acne. Terrible. And there'd be days where I was like, Mom, I'm not going to school. There's no way I'm going to school. No one ever made fun of me, but I knew what everybody was thinking. This kid's face is disgusting. That's how I felt.
Yeah, right.
To them, it was probably like, whatever, just another kid in high school, but maybe. But yeah, I'd skip school. I was like, I was too skinny. I didn't like the way I looked. So my big thing was always like, I got to be the funny guy.
Yeah.
And that helped. Like, I wasn't like, I was like a popular kid.
Was it like a mean funny, or you made fun of yourself, or just you were like Eddie Murphy funny, Chris Farley funny, or
no? I would do like a little like self-sabotage kind of, self-deprecation humor, but also, I was also kind of like a bully. I would project my own thing onto other people a little bit that had like less of a status than me, just to kind of like have more focus on them. Like, I was the not superior, but like, I would pick fun at people, anybody, I wanted to be the funny guy.
Yeah, and
which sounds horrible. I hate to admit that, but like
humor can do that though. But there's that raw humor you can use, because I like to be funny, and like both my boys are kind of like I am, or they like to be funny, and one of them has a drier sense of humor than the other, and but humor can be good or it can be bad,
right?
Because it's like, how is it projecting out?
Yeah, I know. Me and Gene have completely. I have like a I don't want to say like sophisticated sense of humor, but like I have like I feel like I have a good sense of humor, and she's kind of like, fart jokes.
Oh, yeah.
Which are also funny.
Yeah.
But man, it's like complete opposites. I feel like that's where we struggle, is like when she's dying laughing of something and, whatever, I'm just kind of like,
That's like my wife and I.
it's brutal.
I joke because I'll say something and she's like, so now we have this thing.
Yeah.
We have this thing. If I make her laugh, she gets an extra day on a vacation.
Nice.
So of course, when we were in Hawaii, she laughed every day.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, you're the funny," and I'm
Yeah.
like, "That's fake."
Yeah.
I'm like, "That does
Liar.
not count as a day." But
That hurts more than not laughing.
I gotta get that going again but it is sometimes. I think as the longer you're with the person, that's not funny anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because like in the beginning, it's like you will both laugh at everything each other says, and you want to compliment them, and be a.
You'll start to see this as Felix gets older and stuff, and you have dad jokes. They do hit a certain age where dad jokes are not funny anymore.
Yeah.
And I had it going for a long time because not only did I have my kids, but then I had these high school girls that I coached, and I could rip out dad jokes every once in a while, that were, PG-13.
Right.
And I knew once I got to the point where my players weren't laughing anymore, I'm like, yeah, I'm not funny anymore.
Yeah.
I'm like, dad jokes suck.
Yeah. Got to retire, throw in the towel.
And hey, lo and behold, I don't coach anymore because I have bad jokes.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, and it's funny because I feel like Jean's whole family has the same sense of humor as her. So they'll be dying, howling, laughing at stuff, and I'm just like,
so you just gotta
dying inside.
You gotta have like a family, like if she has like a family reunion or something, you just gotta line up whoopee cushions everywhere.
Oh, dude.
And they would just be laughing.
They'd be
all day.
dying.
Yeah, and
I'd
you'd be
just
like,
sitting there like,
come on, Felix,
wanting to
let's go.
kill myself.
Yeah. Felix, you want to go to the park like 17 miles away?
I hope he gets my sense of humor. Ooh. I really
that.
do.
That's awesome.
I hope he gets my sense of humor. Not like she doesn't have a bad sense of humor. It's just different than me.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like, she's like, literally a perfect. I got so lucky because I hear horror stories of like my cousins and people who have had kids with their significant other that is just like it's hell. Oof. Like they, what starts off great, it's awesome in the honeymoon phase, and we have kids, and then 6 months in after they had kids, it's like kids like make or break a relationship. I mean, I hate to admit that.
Yeah.
But like it's I feel super fortunate in that she's an amazing mom. Like seriously. Amazing partner, thoughtful, always wanting to like, if I'm working at like this podcast, she's like, sweet, let's I'm like maybe this weekend we can clean out the basement and set up a carpet and we can go half and half on cameras.
Oh, we got to have her on, man. We're just gonna,
yeah.
I just want to have
She's
her on.
Shy.
I want to talk about fart jokes like the whole time.
Dude,
I got good ones.
Yeah, she would love it.
My little neighbor, I used to have these little neighbor boys that lived by me, and one of them they got into like joke telling.
Okay.
Oh man, I was loving it, and then they moved away. But I was like, I would tell Joe, and my daughter would be like, "That's not funny."
Yeah.
It's not funny at all. They got a joke book. One time they got a joke book, just the stupidest jokes ever, And
I always wished I knew magic.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, I tried magic and I sucked at it. Even
the
like
sleight
card
of
tricks.
hand, like
yeah. Well, like that, when we were out in
Vegas.
When we were out in Vegas, and the one guy was doing the card trick and everything.
Can't remember.
Aaron Melby was standing there, and then there was another person, and he was like ripping up cards and like setting them on fire and all this stuff, and
I must have missed.
All of a sudden, it's back together, and was like, how did that person over there have the sleight of hand?
Yeah,
I was amazed. I was like,
imagine doing that at a closing.
Oh, that's what half my closings are. It's just
you're
there. I'm just
and here are the keys.
Yeah, voila.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be amazing.
You come rolling in. Prepare to be amazed.
Yeah, yeah. Fuck, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other? I mean, I don't want to make this too long. Any other burning topics you want to talk about?
Not that I can.
Thought I'd keep it like under an hour.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, I think for both of us is it's just kind of fun just to come on and talk about. Like I'd stopped on the way here and got a shake for Jake and I, and the lady I'd mentioned I was on. I'm like, hey, I gotta go do my podcast. And she's like, oh, you do a podcast? And I'm like, yeah. She goes, what's it called? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know that part yet. She's like, oh, that sounds like so cool. And I'm like, yeah, it kind of is, But it's nice to be able to, you talk about things. They don't have to be mortgage related. They can be mortgage related. If people want to talk about mortgage stuff, hey.
Yeah, if you're in Minnesota,
hit us up. Hit us up and
where
ask
are you
them.
licensed?
Minnesota, Wisconsin,
Florida,
and Virginia.
Yeah. So if you're in Minnesota or any of those states, hit us up if you're.
Yeah, if you're in Florida, when we come on here and do this again next week, mind you, we are going to be below zero. Maybe next week we might have to do our podcast outside just to let everybody know how cold it is.
It sucks.
Oh, we could do it from my hot tub.
That would be so sick.
How awesome would that be?
That'd be hilarious.
Not only do I have a face for radio, I have a body for
Let's
radio.
go.
That would be
Get the ladies
else.
in here.
But I think if we keep it light and if people have questions and stuff, because you know what, the mortgage industry can be fun. I mean, you can have a good time when you're buying houses or selling houses or whatever. But even just letting people see our other side of it, got to be relatable. And I think that this helps. I mean, if you want to become relatable, hey, come jump in with us. We'll sit down, talk stuff.
Well, I feel like everybody, or a lot of times, people are genuinely, like, if they're renting their whole life, they have a genuine, like, curiosity of, like, maybe I do want to buy a house. Yeah. I always thought that it was, like, not possible. Like, it was like, that's too daunting of a task. It's like a mountain I have to climb. Like, there's no way I could even, like, qualify. But lo and behold, it was, like, such a simple process.
Yeah.
The loan officer that I worked with and the realtor that I worked with, it was like, they're the ones that are supposed to take the brunt of the stress.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like a fun thing, like going to look at a car, like going to look at a house should be like a fun thing. So, I mean, that's just my opinion. It's
supposed to be a fun thing. And I think that's one area, like right now, if you're all looking to buy a house and stuff and you think back to your past, and we're still in, if you think back, in 2010, 2011, 2020, or 2009, when we went through that housing crisis, the people that are coming up to buy the houses right now, if we think about this, okay, let's say they were 10 years old, 15 years old at that time. Well, now we're coming into buyers who are 15 years past that. They don't have good memories of this because maybe their parents lost their house, or maybe they know someone that lost their house. Because a lot of times there was lots of people
they had to move a bunch.
Yeah, they had to move a bunch, and it's not a good memory. So people think, I don't ever want to buy a house because of what my mom and dad went through or how this tore my family apart, everything like that.
Right.
And we got to get that, and we got to educate people that, yeah, those are bad memories and everything, but now things are better, that we can educate you better. We can put you on budgets. We can help you with those things so that it becomes easier to be a homeowner, because you're starting to build not only your housing equity, but you're gaining and you're building in yourself.
Yeah.
You're taking that deep dive into building your self-wealth.
Well, I feel like too, like besides, becoming a father, first time owning a house, it's like it kind of brought me into adulthood.
Yeah.
And having responsibility. It's a lot, but it feels good to maintain and like weirdly like pay for your own thing and come home to a house. I don't know.
And again, like we had talked about, it's not for everybody.
Right.
Not,
true.
I mean, if you travel a lot for work, or you're job, you're doing, job
or like
hopping
going
all
through
over,
something financially.
Yeah, it might not be the right spot for you. But if you're able to sit there and you take that investment in yourself because you have that opportunity or you can do it, you know what? At least talk to us, and
it's so easy to get. I mean, not easy, but it's so simple to get pre-approved, and all of a sudden now you're house shopping.
Yeah,
and it's like, we got this house in like 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah. It was like boom.
Yeah.
It was. I thought it was going to be so complicated.
Yeah.
And it turned out like so. It's like loan application, getting documents, house shopping, making an offer, going to closing. It's like it happens so quick. I mean, obviously there's like appraisal, inspection, and stuff, but it's like all that's done for you. That's for the loan officer and the realtor to worry about.
Yeah.
For you, it's like, do you like this house? Is this right for you?
Yeah.
And financially, is this a smart move?
And when did you buy this house?
Like a little over 2 years ago.
So I mean, you think back of 2 years ago, when you were buying. What's it saying?
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. No, I'm glad you told me. Keep going though.
When you were buying, and thinking about when you bought 2 years ago, that was just starting to get into that crazy time where you basically had to make decision in like 60 seconds.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
it was like, okay,
Well-
when you walk into this house, there's going to be 57 other offers,
Yes.
or you had people lined up down the street to see one house, and you're going, I don't know if I got a shot.
And we didn't have like, we got super lucky with this house in that like we got it for what it was appraised for
Yep.
somehow, and the rates were good. But like people don't realize that like, a few months ago, you had to, at least for us, it was usually like you had to offer 60 grand over to be considered
Yep.
and waive the inspection. So God knows what's wrong with the house. You're just hoping that it's okay and move-in ready.
And that's what we're seeing now. That's what I keep hearing the stories of people like, hey, I bought a year and a half ago, and we didn't do an inspection. And now we got this and this and this. And it's like,
yeah.
everybody kind of told you.
And now like rates are getting better, and there's not that, I mean, being in middle of winter, there's not a bidding war going on.
No.
And you're able to have a little more negotiating power and not have to waive the inspection. And it's just people, it's funny, kind of like what Barry Habib said in his Zoom presentation. The news is often wrong about the housing market
sure.
and where it's going. Like, I know it sounds disingenuous coming from us who want to sell money and get you into a house, but seeing the statistics and the graphs and the patterns of the market, it's never been a better time to buy.
Yeah, I mean,
it sounds so corny, but really,
it was. I mean, we sat there and we watched that. I think it was about an hour and a half with Barry Habib, and we were able to go through and kind of digest it. And Barry Habib, he's been around for a long time. He used to be called. He's called a Mortgage Market Guide. Now it's MBS Highway, and he used to be on CNBC, all these shows all the time. So he knows a lot of these people.
Yeah,
and he's very, very well dialed in with the mortgage-backed securities and what's going on, everything. And yeah, him and Diana Olick got it like they have like a running just freaking feud.
Yeah,
and it was great. It goes in the slide. I mean, it was like a whole page of she would come out and say this, and then this would happen. And this, she'd come out and say this, and
she
then
got
this
it wrong
would
like every
time. And it
time.
was wrong every single time.
So
it's hard because, again, think of it this way, people. If you're going to listen to people in the media about what's going on in housing, remember, they are in the media. They are not in real estate. They are not in mortgage.
Yeah.
So they're hearing it from somebody else, and sometimes you don't know who that somebody else is. Like we talked about earlier, it could be ChatGPT. It could be something AI.
I haven't trusted the media in years. Like I've completely,
it's tough.
Yeah, I've completely stopped watching the news. Anyways, but so if anybody's considering looking for a house or thinking about it, or I think for John and I, one thing that I genuinely enjoy is being honest with borrowers or people that are looking for a house. If I get there, they fill out a loan application and it looks like, the credit's poor. Like, let me help you. Like, let's get your credit better. Let's have you focus on these debts, pay off these bills. And if you're not financially ready to buy a house, I don't want to set you up for failure.
Correct. Yeah.
I don't want you to move into a house and all of a sudden shit hits the fan and you have a resentment towards me. And that just, that's not how you build relationships.
No.
You want to set people up for success. And if I have to be honest with you and tell you, hey, maybe now is not the right time to buy, I'm going to do it because I want to have that good communication and good rapport with you, for the future. And
I think it's not across the board that way in our industry.
Yeah.
I think some people are just out there to shove it down people's throats and get them into a house and do whatever and move on to the next transaction.
Paycheck.
Man, that's tough because
It make us look bad.
There's two different types of business. There's transactional business where you just go from deal to deal to deal, or there's relationship business.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for anybody that gets into that type of situation because, I always look at it as, and I had someone ask me one time, they're like, well, what would you tell if this was your child buying a house, what would you do? I was like, man, I said, honestly, he's not ready to buy a house.
Yeah.
She's like, really? I said, no, he's not. I said, he's not ready to buy a house.
Yeah.
And
that's okay.
Yeah. And I think mom and dad didn't like to hear that, but son liked to hear that because, You know, I think mom and dad wanted him out of the house.
Yeah.
But you know, it was more of a learning experience for him of like, man, I got to shape up.
Right. Kind of an eye opener.
Yeah. So.
Well, and then that too is like when people. I know for me, I rented my whole life, and every year rent would go up.
Yep.
Every year, without question. And you know, people say like, "Oh, I'm just gonna rent and save up." If you're living paycheck to paycheck, it is so fucking hard to save while you're renting, especially when they keep, you know, pumping the rent up.
Yeah, well,
it's tough.
It's there was another survey that just came out that it said one of the big financial companies called Goldman Sachs. You know, they keep telling people, oh, housing prices are going to go down. Housing prices are going to go down. Well, lo and behold, Goldman Sachs also has got all this money sitting on the sideline because they buy properties. They buy investment properties.
Yeah.
You know what? They love it because when you're paying your landlord, you're paying their mortgage and then some. So it's not like people buy investment properties to lose money.
Right.
You know, I don't know very many people that own properties that like to lose money.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a business for them, and they want you to keep going. Again, take the time, figure out if you can budget, if you can make a house work rather than living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
One of my things I always say to people is, you know, I don't want to see you going back and eating ramen noodles and mac and cheese the rest of your life and just be stuck in your house.
Right. It's like now that you got a house and you're living like a peasant.
You don't want to.
You're not thriving.
I can never leave, you know?
Yeah.
But you have to be able to make sure that you're just getting educated because, again, once you figure out, and then you kind of kick yourself because, like inside like this MBS highway that we use, there's a rent versus buy calculator, and the amount of money that you kind of blow away in like a 2 to 5 to 10 year period on rent that you're never getting back.
It's like hundreds of thousands sometimes.
It's sickening because once you show someone that, they're just like. They get defeated.
Yeah.
And then you got to build them back up because, like, you know what? This is why you want to get out of this, you know? But, yeah, there's just lots of pieces to the puzzle when it comes to buying. It's a matter of getting comfortable, trusting someone, and, you know, making the right decision. Because in the end, it's your decision.
Yeah, and I will say, you know, obviously, you know, I'm licensed in Minnesota, so is John, and a few other states. If you live in a state where maybe we didn't, you know, speak of, like, let's say you're not licensed in Nebraska.
I'm not licensed.
Okay, so, you know, wherever you are, if you're interested in buying a house, we know brokers all over the U.S. So that's not a problem. Edge Home Finance is great in that we're partnered with like 50 to 60 different lenders. So the lenders that we are partnered with are competitive with each other to give us the best rates to offer to you guys.
So let's break that down for a little bit, Jake, of the difference between what a broker is and compared to what a bank is. So, or a retail lender. So Jake and I are mortgage brokers, meaning we don't work with one specific company when it comes to sending them loans. So we work with United Wholesale Mortgage, we work with Home Point, we work with PennyMac, we work with New Res, we work with all these different companies, Mutual of Omaha. Whereas if you go to
Wells
Fargo,
not
U.S.
anymore.
Bank, if you go to any of those big banks, you're working with that one, and that's their option. Or if
and they have a bunch of middlemen.
Correct.
That you have to pay and overhead and marketing.
They have these things called overlays, meaning they're looking to do a certain type of loan where it could be the same exact. You could compare two loans and they're the same exact thing, and a bank may not do this because they have a certain overlay, meaning they put something out there that says we don't want to deal with this. Whereas on our side of it, having the options of working with 50 different companies gives us flexibility. That if maybe, you know, we look at one company and they're like, oh, we're having issues here or this or that, well, we can always move it to another company. And that's what just sets us apart from, as a broker, compared to a retail lender or a bank. And when I'd say retail lender, that's a company that they'll come in, they'll do your loan, they'll either service it or they'll sell it off on the secondary market.
Yeah.
Some examples.
That happened to me.
If you're looking at, you know, to give you an idea of some of the bigger ones, Guaranteed Rate is a direct lender. New American Funding is a direct lender. Cross Country Mortgage, you know, so bigger mortgage companies. And it's not bad. It's not bad to be a direct lender. It's just the amount of
less options,
bureaucracy that you have.
Yeah.
You have sales managers, regional managers,
and the advertisement. Like, we don't have a lot of overhead for like advertisements. Like that's the funny thing about Edge is like a lot of people haven't, oddly enough, heard of us because we're not constantly putting ads on TV, radio, whatever. But also another thing I was going to add, with banks, there's hours.
Yeah.
For us, it's like if you call us, I mean, I'm not saying we're going to answer, but if you hypothetically call us at 3 a.m. on Saturday and have questions or some burning desires.
Don't call me at 3 a.m.
Right. But I'm just saying, hypothetically, we don't have hours. So, obviously, we have a life too, but we're not stuck to that 9 to 5. Hey, we'll get back to you. You call them on Friday. Hey, we'll get back to you Monday when we're clocked in.
We all work under the umbrella of Edge Home Finance, which Edge Home Finance is the 4th largest mortgage broker in the nation.
Second.
Tom
just told me second.
Dang.
I believe, yeah.
Nice job. But we work under the umbrella of Edge Home Finance. Each one of us that works here kind of runs their business like we're self-employed.
Yep.
And we take it to heart so that, we are working and we really do work hard for, each and every client because we know how much they mean to us.
I love how in the beginning we're like, mortgage stuff is boring. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about whatever.
Set you up.
Yeah, suckers. I think we'll end it there. We've got a good amount of stuff. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you guys want to reach out, obviously I'm Jake Latourell on Facebook.
John Richter. You can on Facebook, Twitter,
LinkedIn, whatever. OnlyFans.
Yeah, my OnlyFans.
John's feet pictures.
Blowing up.
This
right here.
Yeah. This is actually just a side gig for him, a mortgage broker. He makes most of his income on there.
Yeah, I almost became a snow plow driver today coming into Jake's driveway. I just about took out the fronts. It's so slippery here in our city. Our city
sucks.
Hey, we both live in the city of Champlin here in Minnesota. We love the city of Champlin.
It's the best.
It's great.
Yeah.
Man, we do not know how to plow snow or put down anything for ice because it is tough. Anywhere you go, man, it is icy.
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. We will, let's see, should we upload this Fridays? Do it Thursday, upload Fridays. So, we'll see you next Friday. Thank you so much, guys.
Catch you on the flippity flip.